Hi, it's Gil Robles here, and I'm painting in Rebelle. I recently updated the programming. There was an upgrade, Rebelle 3 point whatever, so I did that, and I decided to come back to it. It's been a little while since I've used this, and I love this program. I love it because of the way it mimics traditional brushes. I'm using the pastel brush. I've used it before, and I enjoy it. I used it recently after I upgraded with the recent update, but I used it as a charcoal. I tried to do a charcoal drawing. It didn't come out too great. I didn't like the reference that I had to begin with, so I wasn't too inspired. But it reminded me of when I used it to use the pastel brush. So I decided to go ahead and use it again. Now I'm speeding up this video, but at the same time it's still at a good speed where you can see how I construct the image, looking at the big shapes going into the smaller shapes. If you watched my videos before, you know that this is pretty much how I work. I try to not hone in on details. I try to look for big shapes and connect them to the other shapes, and then from the big shapes I start breaking those big shapes down into smaller shapes, and pretty much that's how I work. You see there's a map, and even now there's not much down, but it's already enough to start resembling the reference that I'm working from, which is I don't know if I said it already, but which is me. I'm using myself. I'm doing the self-portrait. I grew this beard, and before I chopped it off, I wanted to go ahead and have a record of it. So but if you've seen my work before, if you've looked at my videos, you've seen my face. I've used it on numerous occasions, either to do a straightforward self-portrait or to do some kind of fantasy self-portrait, as if I was a pirate or something like that, just having fun with it. I mean, self-portraits are a great way to hone your skills, to practice. Rembrandt did a lot of self-portrait, and part of the reason why he did self-portraits were to show off, not show off, but to practice and yes, show his skills to a buyer, about how well he can depict emotion, or how well he can work in a certain technique or whatever. One of the things is that he just practiced. When his self-portraits, part of it was practice, and then part of it was definitely him looking at himself in an honest way. But self-portraits are good for a lot of things, and one of the things is that if you don't have a model to work from, and it's great to work from life, it's great to have a mirror and prop it up and use it to either draw or paint, do a quick sketch, or do something even more involved. This is something that I did a lot in high school and in college. I went to the High School of Art and Design, so I had a lot of art in high school. And one of the things that I did a lot of, especially in my 11th and 12th year in high school, was to do a self-portrait. I took a mirror, I propped it up in front of me, and I just painted away or drew away. Or a lot of times it was a lot of oil painting I did back then. And that was the way of me practicing, me getting in some time to paint when I'm not at school or when I'm not in a class. I like to keep up my skills in terms of, or continue to develop my skills. Not keeping up my skills, to continue to develop my skills would be a proper thing to say. And so it was a way for me to practice. Now it's still a way for me to practice. It's a way for me to explore techniques, to explore different programs, to explore different mediums, different brushes, different styles, to try different expressions. I purposely, I had my son take this photograph. I purposely put myself under a light that would break the shapes up in my face the way that it does, the light from above, and it basically gave me a very, very strong contrast with the eyes, the nose, the dark below the mustache and the dark below the full beard. That gave me enough contrast to say that I can build. I wanted to build an image without relying so much on detail, and then you can see that how little detail you need to make the image look familiar, look like what I'm trying to paint. So I purposely did that, and I purposely did that also because at that point where the light was hitting me, I also had like what seemed like an angry expression. I wasn't angry at all, but it seemed like an angry expression or a serious expression. So I wanted to paint that as well. So I had all these things that I could use to practice with. And, like I said, practice, technique, style, and expressions is another thing. And doing a self-portrait is a great way of doing that. You don't have to worry about disappointing anyone if the drawing or the painting doesn't come out to look exactly like the person, and so there's no worries about disappointing anyone. The only concern is how far you can get or how much you can do. That there's not that pressure again of trying to please somebody. There's just you, the image, and the paper or the canvas or whatever. And so you do as best as you could. Now I've done a self-portrait before of myself as a pirate, and that was fun. I've put a video of that on Gumroad, and I'll leave a link to that, and you can either stream it or watch it. There's several videos I've used for Rebelle, and for the one the pirate self-portrait, though that was in Sketchbook. That's Autodesk Sketchbook. But I mean, my techniques are basically similar. This is a little bit different in that I didn't use a lot of different layers here. I just basically painted on this one layer, I believe, and that's it. And that was all I needed, which is kind of nice because the less technical, I'm more of a traditional artist, traditional painter, traditional artist. So I like using traditional mediums, even though I do and I do enjoy and I do use digital, but still I use it in a way that I would do if I were using the actual materials, not digital. I'm working on a tablet, I'm working with a stylus, and I select the brushes that look like the medium that I'm trying to paint in. So this looks like a pastel. I mean, it very much does. And if I would just show someone the image without letting them know how it was done, they would think that it was done in traditional media. So and this is what I like about this. Not that I'm trying to fool anyone, but this is what I would want my work to look like. And so yeah. So I like I said, I've done myself kind of like as a fantasy thing with myself as an old pirate and so forth. Now I think there's a point where you can take that too far. I remember one time I was pretty much a heavyset kid in school, and one teacher told me, "Oh, you can do a portrait of yourself skinny," and I kind of like did not like what she said when she said that, because it kind of implied that something was wrong with me, and you don't want to be overweight, but you don't want to think of yourself as there's something wrong with you, or you don't accept yourself at where you're at. And so anyway, but also being honest with yourself is an important thing. Being honest and taking a hard look at yourself in the mirror and painting that image. And you might be surprised at what comes up, and surprised at how you depict yourself, or there could be something revealing when you take a hard look at yourself visually, and you try to record that on a canvas or whatever, and you might pick up something different. Now, I think this is more effective when you work from the mirror or live than from a photo. Photo is not working from life. A photo is working from a photo. Now, if you practice from working with life, you can know how to not cross every T and dot every I when you're working from a photo and still make it look like an effective painting. But so I would recommend doing a lot of work from life and not just working from photos. Not that there's anything wrong with working from photos, but it needs to be informed by something more than the image, because you know what, you'll pick up a lot of things in photos that you won't pick up in real life. Now, photography is a whole other art form. I'm not downing photography, but if I'm taking the picture, I'm not a photographer, so I can't do all the subtle things that a photographer is able to do. But I can look at the photo that I have, and with the benefit of having worked from life, I can basically edit the photo in my mind, not to change it, but to recognize where the photo has either distorted something, because this photos can distort depending on how far away the camera is from the image, or it can distort color. When something's dark, a photo tends to see it as just a black, whereas in life, there's a lot of light and color bouncing around, so nothing's ever entirely white or entirely black. There's a reflection of other colors that are around. It works with its surroundings. So and then I can edit the color as well, because I'm familiar in drawing from life. I'm thinking of values first and not color, so that I can edit the color and change the color as long as it's true to the values. And the values are just basically, if you don't know, when I refer to values, what I'm talking about is basically every color corresponds to a gray in a value scale. The darker the color, the closer it is to black. The lighter the color, the closer it is to white. And actually, and naturally in the middle, you'll see like it's closer to a middle gray value. So value scale is a gray scale, and the colors correspond to that gray scale according to how dark or light it is. So as long as I keep it true to the values, the color doesn't matter as much. Now, again, you play with color, you play with warm and cool colors, so the color temperature comes into play. But that again is something that I edit when I'm using a photo. I'm also thinking in my mind how best to use the color. Sometimes there might not. Sometimes I might put in a cool color where a cool color doesn't actually exist in the photo reference, but it's an edit I make because of an advanced knowledge of color that I have from working from life. But colors, I'm far from an expert on color. There's a lot to learn about color, as and about light, and about 100 other things when it comes to drawing. So, as a matter of fact, you'll find that no matter how long or hard you work at this, there's always something more to learn, always something new to explore, and you're never going to get tired, and you're never going to run out of things. It's a sad thing, I think, when someone settles on a style or settles on a way of working and doesn't grow beyond that, because then you're just repeating yourself over and over again, and that's different from developing your skill. And I'm not trying to develop a new style or a new way of looking at things. I'm just trying to get better at what it is that I do, and I'm not there yet. I'm just with every painting, every drawing, everything that I do, I'm trying to do better than what I did the last time when I worked. So I've noticed right here that the painting was a little bit too large. I actually the actual painting, because I'm working on a large screen, is more closer to life size as far as the size of the head. And what I should have did was made it a little smaller so that everything would fit. But this was the size that I started working in, and it was comfortable. It was just a matter of fitting it on the page. But again, self-portraits. So there's like I said before, you might be surprised at what you see about yourself, or you might want to share something about yourself that you feel that you want to share visually, and you can put it in the painting. Whether it's you wanted to the artwork to reflect a certain character or a certain mood and so forth, or it becomes a little bit of a diary or a journal, and I guess that's what some of Rembrandt's self-portraits became after a while, because they reflected different periods of his life, different moods, different whether happier or sadder times or whatever, but you can read a lot into it, I guess, and you can also communicate a lot into the self-portrait, But anyway, like I said, this is Rebelle. I'm coming close to finishing this now, and I'm pretty much accomplished what I wanted to accomplish with this sketch. I just for some reason I just felt like wanting to do this this self-portrait with this full beard. I thought it would be fun. It didn't come out exactly like I wanted, but it didn't come out bad either, and so it was fun. But again, I have similar videos on Gumroad. I also have a Patreon page. You can join me there, watch videos there, get a sketchbook where I do a monthly downloadable PDF of all the sketches I did that month, and I offer it to my patrons. So I'll leave a link below to my Patreon page as well. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was a lot of fun to do this image. And in just a short while, I'm going to go ahead and show you when I finish this up how actually it doesn't look that bad when you blow it up. I mean, Rebelle, if you use the recommended presets, you should be all right with the image, and it shouldn't be any problem as far as having an image that you can print and you can enlarge. So here's the final image. So as you can see, I'm going to go ahead and enlarge this and see how far we can get. That's already getting pretty large. It hasn't pixelated yet, and you can see it's pretty good here. So it's about double its size. It hasn't pixelated yet. A little further along, still going good. Right about here, yeah, is when you start seeing the pixels, but it survives pretty well. So it can give you a good quality image that you can use for prints, that you can actually blow up, and just by using the presets. And doing that also on this particular painting, it did not slow up my computer, so it was pretty good. So here you go. Like I said, I'll leave the links below. This is the final image. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you again. Bye bye.